Good morning, my beloved spiritual community. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Ukiah. My name is Gail Rhodes, and I will be your presider this morning. And so I know for myself and for you that whatever reason we have decided to gather here today, gathering by all of our devices, was to know a greater sense of spirit. And somewhere in these services, either through treatment, through beautiful music, through the message, I know that that will be true for you. So welcome. And with that being said, let's just start right in with an opening treatment. So take a deep breath, deep cleansing breath. Maybe take a second one. Relax. And know that right here and right now, there's only one thing, and that thing is God. And it is vital and brilliant and full of love. And it is who we are. We have our being in that essence of love, peace, power, joy, gratitude, health, prosperity. And as we recognize that, as we tap into that truth that is always there, as we recognize it and we invite it and we court it to be more present in our human lives, there is a resounding yes. There is always a resounding yes from the universe. All we need do is be aware, be open, and invite. So as we do that this morning, we feel it. We feel it in our consciousness. We feel it in our bodies. We literally feel it in the air around us. And for that, we are grateful. And we release this treatment to the universe, knowing that it already is so. And together we claim it by saying, and so it is. And so now we would like to move right into music. Our musician this morning is Mary Buckley. Mary Buckley has been with us many, many times in many different iterations. This morning it is Mary and her guitar. So thank you, Mary, for being with us.
Thanks, Gail. And thanks for that treatment.
You're welcome.
This is a song I wrote just a week or two ago about one of my favorite themes, the healing power of nature, and one of my favorite places, the river near my house and Gail's house.
Yep.
I'm walking by the river. I feel the dancing air. I hear the rippling waters, and birds are everywhere. I feel the inner smile returning to my soul. I think I'll just stay a while until I feel more whole. I'm walking by the river. I feel the solid ground. It's welcoming my footfalls and keeping me safe and sound. I feel the inner child returning to my soul. I think I'll just stay a while until I feel more whole. The waters come and go, and so do joy and grief. They're all just ripples in stream, so little and so brief. I feel the inner wild returning to my soul. I think I'll just stay a while until I feel more whole.
Oh, Mary, that was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much.
You probably know that feeling.
I can see the river from where I'm sitting today. And so that was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. That moved us right into our guest speaker. Our guest speaker, going to need my glasses for this, is Dr. Sue Rubin. Dr. Sue started studying science of mind in the mid 70s in Southern California. So she knows it well. In 1985, she headed to Alberta, Canada, as First Minister of First Church of Religious Science, Edmonton, which is now a Center for Spiritual Living. Dr. Sue left Edmonton in 1995. She was installed as the Minister of Religious Science / CSL in Westlake Village in 1995, where she remained for 13 years. Dr. Sue continues serving Centers for Spiritual Living and Greater New Thought Ministry by mentoring, guest speaking, offering classes, and workshops. So we're very thrilled to have Dr. Sue with us this morning. Dr. Sue, welcome.
What did I just say? I said, thank you. Welcome to you, to my world to your world, because there's only one life. And so today is going to be a composite because being born and raised in the Jewish tradition, tonight just happens to be very early this year, the first night of Hanukkah. Anybody familiar with Hanukkah? Festival of Lights. It's really not considered one of the major Jewish holidays, but it is a time that has a rich history. And, you know, when you go beyond the tangible, the story, the backstory, the history of it all, and look at the deeper meaning of everything, it all has its parallel. So when, as the story goes, a very, very embittered and frightened and angry Jewish people had just returned to Jerusalem after having been exiled in Babylon. And when they got back, the temple, of course, had been desecrated. They were forbidden to practice because the Greeks were in charge. And it was like, no rituals, no practices. You will abide by the statue of Zeus that we have and by all of our beliefs and our systems. And so they took it for a while because, you know, there's kind of an equation sometimes between not only the Jews, but other people who have historically been persecuted. And of course, now there's such a parallel with the Me Too movement and with Black Lives Matter and with all of the apparent racial injustice and inequalities that exist politically and legally and environmentally. I mean, we can point to, you know, it reminds me of the Christ who said, in the world, you will always have tribulation, but don't go by that because I'm not in the world. I am in it, but not of it. And so if I navigate my life experience just the way the Jews finally said, enough is enough. You guys remember a movie called Network with the lead actor? It was related to TV or something, and whatever the whole story had been, he had had enough also, this one lead character. I think it was George Papard. And he finally leaned out of the window in this multi-story media building in New York City and screamed, I'm sick and tired and I'm not taking it anymore. And so he made his own independent stand, as the Jews did. There was a family named the Maccabees, and the Maccabees was the father, Matthias, who was still leading his kids, mainly Judas and others and some relatives. And they decided, look, we might be small. There might not be as many of us as there are from the Greek armies that were presently under control, being controlled by, but let's take a stand. And they succeeded in overthrowing the larger army that had been persecuting and keeping them limited. And they decided to rededicate. This was the second temple in Jerusalem. And so they decided to rededicate it, but they needed oil because there's something that goes on within every temple, and that's it. It's called the Ner Tamid, Nertamid, and it's the eternal light that burns forever. No matter what temple you go into, no matter where you are, that light is either hidden, but always it burns day and night. And so they discovered they only had enough oil to keep the lights going and the brightness for one day. And yet the quote unquote miracle was that light lasted. It was oil. They were using actually olive oil. And so the light lasted for 8 nights, which now is the explanation for why we have 8 nights of Hanukkah. And of course, it was referred to as a miracle. Well, shifting to science of mind or any of the metaphysical New Thought teachings, metaphysically, light is symbolic of wisdom and understanding, imagination, creativity, and of something that always points to a larger possibility that something else can happen. And just going back to my own background, I was born and raised in New York. And although my family, which at the time was my brother and my mom and dad, we were not quote unquote religious. I did go to Sunday school, but we went to temple more out of the cultural necessity and the fact that I have a very, very famous great uncle who was my mother's sister. And this man was amazing, and he and his wife, that was Dr. Louis Ginsburg, and his wife was Adele, and they lived only 3 streets from us. So it became mandatory to start and end all the holidays with them as well at their home as in temple. And so I can remember, as a kid, just like fidgeting because he went according to the book, every Orthodox practice and prayer. And so the thing I looked forward to was lighting the menorah, which will be lit tonight in so many Jewish homes. And of course, the menorah has room for 8 candles, but there's one that stands a little bit above the others, and it's called the shamus. And that's the lead candle, so to speak, that lights every candle from it rather than lighting each separately to begin the concept of freedom and continuity, which life really does hold. And so I look forward to that. And then, of course, although in the 2nd century and for many, many centuries beyond, money was exchanged, not gifts. It was only what they call, to this day, you'll see little chocolates wrapped in gold, and it's called Hanukkah Geld, Hanukkah money. And so we would look forward as kids, my brother and I, he was 4 years older, and we would look forward to little bags of Hanukkah Geld and just lighting the candles. And this is the prayer that would be said, as usually the woman or the youngest in the family would be lighting the candle. And the prayer spoken in Jewish, in Hebrew, is this prayer. Let's see. Okay, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Would you like a translation? Could have been anything. Meet me at Trader Joe's at 10 o'clock, whatever. Okay, so that one says in translation, where am I? Hang on with me. Any question? Just toss it at me, folks. Wait, that's the wrong one. Any questions thus far? We can do that. We're an intimate group. Okay.
I know
So that,
Baruch means blessing,
yes,
and Adonai is God's name.
yes. So this blessing says, the first one I just said in Hebrew, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy with your commandments, commanding us now to kindle the light, the Hanukkah light. And then only on the first night and on the last night, there are other special blessings given. And the second one, I would not hazard to read in Hebrew. So I'll go straight to the English translation. It says, blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe. Blessed are you for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for enabling us to reach this season. And so every night, oil is utilized in potato pancakes, again, as a continuation of the ritual of the oil burning. A lot of grease goes by those 8 days. And it has subsequently been that gifts are exchanged. So as a kid in my family, I can remember that each night, they were small, but finally you knew you were building up to something bigger and better with your gift by the 8th night. And so again, it always seemed to be, I think my humanness learned the lesson of procrastination, which we all deal with. How many times have all of us put our own lives on hold and said, well, when the kids are grown, we'll plan a vacation. Or when I'm married, maybe I'll work, but maybe I won't have to. Everything looking toward a future event rather than what we know in all of the spiritual traditions. Really, there's only now. And the other thing that struck me as I went my own way and really didn't pursue any given path once I was out of college and married and started having my own family, I figured somewhere along the line, something inside, and I had no clue what that might be, will guide me to where my path is, because I knew enough to know I can't resonate necessarily to someone else's choice. I've got to find it within myself to discover. And so the other thing that I discovered as I continued to search and look and find those answers, to me, Judaism, as beautiful and solid, and as with all traditions, ritualistic it is, I still, when I hear a cantor's voice singing or the shofar being blown at the time of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it touches. And I think we're all touched by something ancient within us that resonates. We have this soul memory of the feeling of oneness and unity, and that I'm not really alone. There's a sense of belonging. And yet in Judaism, I felt, and this is only my feeling, that this God was really external, and that somehow I had to achieve a certain pattern of behavior or do something that would bring that outward representation of infinite good into my heart. And so when I first, and into my mind, that I could consciously develop a relationship just as I would with a friend or a loved one. And so time went by, and by the time I discovered science of mind and started listening to some of the metaphysical interpretations of scripture, because remember, being Jewish, I didn't even know a New Testament existed. Everything was based on the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the Old Bible. And so for me, it was like, who's Christ? We don't mention that. We know Abraham, Jacob, Joseph, Solomon, David. And so it was quite an experience tracing those early beginnings in science of mind. But what really is the point of all our struggles, all of our yearnings with what we're going through today? That was back in the second century. We're now in the 21st century. And it seems to me that although the faces, the forms, the customs of any given era from then to now, of course, are altered, but the basic quality of being remains the same. We all want freedom. Freedom from the torment of our own mentality and emotionality, humanly, what's referred to as that ego mind that will still cause us chatter. And most of that chatter, as Ernest Holmes said, is greatly influenced by race mind, by the collective thoughts and beliefs of all society, all civilization, which was always fighting for your own right and overcoming fear and challenges, just as the group did back in the second century through all of the traditions of Judaism. There was always somebody that was the leader, the fearless leader of the pack. And I thought to myself, this is not different. Again, we're all struggling for that racial and sexual preference, freedom, equality. We're searching for answers to our environment and to Black Lives Matter and all people of color matter. Life matters, free choice. Now our Supreme Court will be addressing the whole abortion, freedom to or not to, that we're sitting with. So the problems become, I think, simply a bit more sophisticated as technology and time and innovativeness from that one universal mind continues to expand. So you could say, does the universe expand, or is it not already full, whole, complete, and perfect in its own right here, right now? We're the ones that are expanding our own awareness. We're the ones who are still prompting ourselves to awaken, be aware, recognize, and once you're up, don't nod off so quickly. And so, do any of you know Margaret Wheatley? She is a very philosophical, spiritually grounded woman who does a lot of work in leadership. And she's written many books and conducts many workshops based on what she calls the spiritual warrior. And of course, she aligns that with and associates it with leadership, whether it's in a spiritual community, a corporation, any organization. And this is what a quote that she has by Margaret Wheatley. Warriors for the human spirit are awake human beings who have chosen not to flee. They abide. And the ancient story that they tell is one of goodness, generosity, and creativity about their humanity. And when asked how they do that, they answer discipline, dedication, and the necessity of community. So, how does that differ? There was dedication that this small group of people decided to band together and not let the quantity of their minimal size deter them from seeking a greater freedom from oppression, from limitation, restriction. And through that, it's a contagion. You know, and I know that our thoughts are contagious. And whatever are the most prevalent ones, they form a pattern. Anybody like Thomas Troward or study him? You know, the divine prototype, uh, what was then called atomic intelligence by the old time metaphysicians. There is that which disperses and distributes itself throughout all humanity, and yet it's all tapped into from being a dormant possibility. It's not just here I am and you don't have to do a thing. We are asked to cooperate, as Holmes talks so much about love and law. Love points the way and the law makes the way possible. So when I'm awake and aware of who I am spiritually, that I am basically fundamentally and innately a divine manifestation of a universal animated principle of life, I interpret that to my own understanding, but I'm constantly pruning. I'm always constantly, consciously eliminating the patterns of fear, doubt, worry, anxiety. Anybody had any of that emphasized over the past nearly 2 years? Of course, we are all with that one power and presence of universal perfection and wholeness. And yet it's, I have found in my own spiritual practices, it's not as easy. I'm more prone to being distracted when I'm meditating. My mind seems to have almost pulled a string that I'm allowing it to pull me toward, well, what's happening today? You know, what's the newest catastrophe? What's the newest downer? So I've got to, if anything, continue to amplify and deepen my spiritual practice to know there is one life. Holmes said it, repeated it 1,000 times. That life is God. And I add that life is perfect, whole, and complete. And that life has always been, is now, and shall forever be the life of God as me. So we have rich opportunities today, whether you're a direct descendant of the Hebrew nation, and who knows, if you do ancestry, you might find that you are. And so whether we are or not, this comes so much as the introduction to the season of lights, to Christmas, and to that which, again, light is so symbolic of an awakening wisdom, an enlightened awareness that my life has to, it just has to exceed beyond what I'm looking at. I'm sitting in my office, and unlike the river and the gorgeous, more natural views that all of you see, I'm seeing beautiful trees. Yes, because I've been in the same townhouse for 22 years. So what were once twigs are now quite lush. So I can see the tree and its leaves outside, but beyond that, I just see buildings. You know, I see a lineup of townhouses, and yet it's all beauty, and it all originated with an idea from the universal mind that now is transferring itself through our thoughts, through what we identify with as either that divine essence of being or a mere mortal subject and victimized by all of life's tragedies and dramas. You know, there will be ups, there will be downs, but again, I am in the world, but not of it. And so the clarion call, particularly as the holidays are upon us, is to stick with that which values all life, to stick with that which honors this divine life that beats in the hearts and souls of all of us, and to free that into its fuller expression. And the only way I know to do that, it's like the guy in New York asking, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? How do you get there? Practice, practice, practice. So why don't we initiate a practice now? I would like to do a spiritual mind treatment. You game? And I'm going to speak in the first person, which is the divine nature speaking itself into being. We know the power of the word, that every time we say, I am, what follows becomes the manifestation. So I am spirit, I am whole, I am perfection at its core level. I am complete. There's nothing, no one really, that I need to add to me, nor can anyone detract or take something from me. I am in dominion of my consciousness. And so every time we speak I am, which I speak my treatments in, it's your own personal words for yourselves. And so I take just a very brief moment of silence, lots of words, thoughts, ideas, perceptions, memories, experiences, all of which we have just shared. And just multiply that and know how busy our minds are in receiving so very much information, virtually and in the flesh. So let's just take a moment to go within and be still. Let it all settle, quiet. So that there's a receptivity to truth, to the absolute truth that God is, I am. And now I speak the word of power, the word of principle, the word that announces the presence of love, of compassion, of wisdom, generosity, and kindness. It already dwells within me, and I now call it forth, enlivening it by my declaration that it be the very activity and action through thought, feeling, and deeds that occurs in, through, and by means of me. And so I light that Ner Tamid, the eternal light, the light that already burns brightly within myself, within and through and as all life. And yet that must be kindled, it must be lit. It is said that man is the candle of the Lord. And so I know with a deeper knowing that the spirit within me, that which is feisty and yearning for greater freedom and liberation from my own limitations, it awakens, knowing that it is the quickening of the spirit that is happening in, through, and as me. And I am blessed to enter into this full season of lights, whether it's Hanukkah I celebrate or the birth of the Christ. It's all the dawning of a new, pure, and perfect, expanded consciousness of godly good that prevails despite appearances. The underlying truth is there is only one, and that one is showing up as the many. So I bring a patient, flexible, deep wisdom and understanding, and a compassionate heart to my interactions this holiday season, refusing to get caught up in all of the Black Friday virtual purchase, buy, get. I give my awareness of calm, conviction, and commitment to living and practicing the presence of God today, tomorrow, and always. And in gratitude and acceptance, let us all declare that according to perfect law, this is the way it really is, and so it is. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Sue. That was absolutely wonderful.
My
It
pleasure.
was like a breath of fresh air to go into the holidays with that consciousness. It was really beautiful. You are an Ash. I can see why you're a treasure.
Oh, thank you.
It feels like you know this stuff really well. And it was a pleasure to have you pass that on to us. So thank you.
A great joy.
Yeah. And now it is time for our offering. So Mary, if you could pull that up for us. There it is. So let's say together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies this gift. With all my heart and with all my mind, I know that I am saying yes to something I value. With all others present here, we dedicate these gifts to the values and visions we share. And so it is. And now we get to have some more music from Mary Buckley. Thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Gail. This song began as sort of a group brainstorming about what does winter feel like. It's like a sensory exploration of entering the season of light, also the season of darkness, and a new year on its way, which we all, I'm sure, are hoping will be less challenging than the last couple of years. That's a good thought to hold. So this is Winter Wraps Us in Her Arms. Fuzzy blankets, fleecy jackets, sleet and sleep and puddles galore. This time of year, darkness is near, and I'm wanting nothing more. Winter wraps us in her arms, wet and cold and dry and warm. Joy and tears shared with those who are near, rounding the corner of the year. Dancing and stillness, hunger and fullness, cocoa and gingerbread, eggnog and pies, fires and candles, lights of all colors, filling the heart under darkening skies. Winter wraps us in her arms, wet and cold and dry and warm. Joy and tears shared with those who are near, rounding the corner of the year. Sometimes I feel the ancient fear, the warmth and the light will be gone. Animals hibernate, humans slow down and wait, singing to bring back the sun. Winter wraps us in her arms, wet and cold and dry and warm. Joy and tears shared with those who are near, rounding the corner of the year. Thank you.
Oops, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Was I muted before? No, I'm good. All right. So thank you, both of you. It was absolutely wonderful. I have a couple of announcements to make. Our guest speaker next Sunday is Raymont Anderson,
Mhm.
and our musician is Calvin Johnson. As usual, if you have any donations for building bridges, it is in the newsletter. You can contact church and I can give you more information on that. It feels like I had some more really pertinent information to pass to you, but I was just in the moment and now I can't remember what those are. So after recording and in conversation, if there's something else, we can talk about it. At this moment, I'm just going to say namaste and thank you all for being here.